It's the JJYP podcast.
Bongo Charlie.
What's up?
What's up, dude?
Well, hey, I'm good to be here. I'm good to be here in this warm, comfortable.
Now I can't hear you.
Oh, well.
Let me find out what the hell is going on here. You know, we're still working out all the kinks. It's an ongoing
It's
an ongoing process. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing really well. I don't think I've been this well in most of my life.
I was so excited that I was going to get a chance to sit down with you.
Me too.
Because from the first time I met you, you just had this energy about you, and I was like, I've got to sit down and have a conversation with this dude because you are epic in every sense of the word.
Epic, man. That's like Charlton Heston shit.
That is Charleston.
Okay,
shit.
I'm gonna look at myself differently now.
So, talk to me, man. How did you, for the audience, kind of give a background and let us hear.
You want like I was born at an early age, or just sort of a little.
No, just
okay.
Tell me how you got to where you are.
Where I am. Well, I'm 79, so it's a long story, but I'll try to shorten it a little bit. I grew up in Florida. I was in high school in the 60s. I'll skip a lot of the earlier stuff, but I was in high school in the late 59s and 60s. We were beatniks. I had read Jack Kerouac and just had a sense of adventure. And I'm an only child and was just spoiled rotten. So I could just, whatever I decided I wanted to do, I could just jump off and do. And
were your parents wealthy?
No, they weren't. They were educators. My dad was an assistant superintendent of a school in Pensacola, of schools in Pensacola, and my mom was a teacher. They retired and went back for their doctorates, and then went up to Mississippi to a little teacher's college and had another career.
Wow.
Yeah. Really proud of them.
And were you ever lonely growing
hell
up?
Yeah, man. Yeah. That only child, I thought it was great at the time. I would introduce myself as a spoiled, rotten only child. But, only with age did I realize just how spoiled and rotten I was. Were
you a hellraiser?
Yes,
you were.
I was a rascal. I was a principal's son at one time, and that's like being a pastor's son.
Yeah, that's in my world. It'd be like a bishop's son or daughter.
Yeah. And I've done it all my life. I just broke every rule that I could possibly break, and hopefully I'm getting over a little of that. It can get painful doing some of that, but I'm a bit of an iconoclast.
At some point, though, you obviously leveled out. So was there an aha
no, hell,
moment?
I hadn't leveled out. I'm just getting started.
Yeah, that's. You know what?
No.
When I say leveled out, though, I use that term loosely.
Yeah, and it took, a lot of years to figure out that that person, I love that person, and we'll talk a little bit more about Buster in a minute, but I loved that fun. I had more fun, went on the road. My buddy Art Skibby and I were going to Stetson University, dropped out in our sophomore year, hitchhiked across country from North Carolina, and we dressed like college students and go from college town to college town with a big sign saying Tulane. And Art was a Lambda Chi Alpha. And if you were a Lambda Chi, you knew the secret handshake or whatever that bullshit is. And so we'd go to...
Okay, well, hold on. Sorry. Educate me. What's a Lambda Chi?
Lambda Chi, it's a fraternity.
Lambda Chi. Oh, so
Yes.
it was a fraternity. Okay,
Yeah,
that makes
so
more sense.
Any of these schools you went to, there's a Lambda Chi house. He'd go in and tickle their palms or whatever they did. And we'd be welcomed in as these adventurers who were hitchhiking across country, and we'd get free food and free beer, and we'd tell them stories about our life on the road.
Oh my! And how long did you do that?
God, we were on the road for about 8 months, I think. You want me to tell you that story?
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, like I say, we went from college town to college town, had a great time. A lot of adventures. Really nice people. That was back, that was in the 60s, early 60s, where people still hitchhiked without fear of mass murderers and all that stuff.
Get your head cut off.
Yeah. But we got some beautiful rides. We met some wonderful people. Got stuck in odd places where you didn't want to be stuck in the rain. And at one time we were out, and after we got past New Orleans, now there's another story. How we got kicked out of New Orleans during Mardi Gras.
Oh my God!
So
how do you get kicked out of New Orleans during Mardi Gras?
Yeah, we had run out of colleges, because as you go toward Texas, the less universities there are. So we got to Tulane, and there wasn't a Lambda Chi house, but I had this buddy from high school who was in the dorm at Tulane. So he said, we don't have enough room for you to sleep on the floor. We don't want you in here. But if you go out in the lobby and put a book in front of you as though you were a student who had just gone to sleep, then when the security guards come by, they'll assume you're a student and not bother you. So Art and I just went out and just had a wonderful Mardi Gras time. I sat in with Clarence Frogman Henry. I ain't got no home. You ever heard that one?
I don't know who that is.
Oh, yeah. Ain't got no home. Levon Helm did a version of that. But Clarence Frogman, it was a one hit wonder, but he was a good piano player, and I enjoyed him because I grew up just down the road from New Orleans.
Okay.
And so anyway, drunk and thinking that I was one of the coolest things in the world and a great piano player, I went up and said, "Hey, can I sit in with you, man?" And he just moved over and let me sit down. I mean, here's this, college kid. What the hell? Maybe he'll tip me well. I played a lot of blues piano back in those days, and I wasn't bad. So I got to do that. That was really a lot of fun. So that was a sideline from where we started. But
and what was the driving force behind you wanting to go and do this? And what did your parents say?
Oh, they were. Mom was so worried, and Dad saying, "He's a rebel, Mom." That kind of shit. Yeah.
Dottie,
oh,
a
man,
rebel.
it was. So anyway, we get back to just really messed up, really, really drunk, and got back to the dorm. And it was like probably 4:00 in the morning. So all the security guards had already run all their things, And I take all my clothes off, lie down on the couch, spread eagle, and go to sleep.
Why did you take your clothes off?
We're getting to the point because I sleep in the nude.
Oh, all right. It's a principle. That's fine.
Yeah, but I usually do that in my own bed.
Yeah. I mean,
But
it wasn't your couch, right?
And my senses weren't as they should have been, all the way. So I'm just sacked out, spread eagle, and I hear this ding, and I look over, and the elevator's door is open, and here's this poor freshman with his parents looking at my junk. The elevator doors close. And here's where it really gets stupid. I turned over and went back to sleep.
You were like, I don't give a damn.
So it wasn't long after that the Tulane constabulary showed.
Was it at that point you were starting to kind of wear out the welcome a little bit there? Okay.
So it wasn't the New Orleans police that took us to the city limits. They drove us to the city limits and let us off and said, "Go that way."
Oh my gosh.
And we got a ride with these two peroxide blondes. I mean, this is like out of a Tennessee Williams movie. There was the good-looking one and her best friend, the not-so-good-looking one. And she's in this red convertible. They're in this red convertible. And I swear it went like this. She had been to see Big Daddy from this little town in Texas, and Big Daddy always took to New Orleans for Mardi Gras. And they'd had a wonderful time. And me and my friend, the friend's coming along because he's got a thing for Mardi Gras. And they, they're staying in the best places. And they just thought it'd be fun to pick us up. And the back seat was barely enough room for anybody to sit. And one of them was sitting in Art's lap, so they could put all our luggage in that tiny little car. But they were just out for a hoot. They're just some good old Texas girls. She was a hairstylist who Big Daddy took her places when she wanted to go. It was just as southern and beautiful as you can imagine, man. So we went for a long way, and then we were thinking, we got a chance with these chicks. And Art said, we got this friend that can belch the entire alphabet. And that's when I knew we lost him.
Oh my gosh. How long did you and Art end up hanging out then?
Well, we wound up in Odessa, Texas, which is just the asshole of the world, man. It's just, it's oil. It's all oil. And it was just a nasty town.
What is that by?
I don't know. It's somewhere in Texas.
All right. Good. Yeah. I got that one.
Yeah, that one.
That town.
And we ran out of money, and there was this, those old hotels that had individual units. There were separate buildings.
Oh, yeah.
And this one had been around since 1800, I mean, it was just, they were basically old. They looked like like picker shacks.
Uh-huh.
And we rented there and worked in the oil field. Sounds a lot harder than it was. We went out on this tanker truck full of water.
Uh-huh.
And turned it into steam, which took most of the day, and hooked the steam up to a oil tanker, big oil tank, and left that steam running all day long until the oil got to a temperature where all the nasty stuff would drop to the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah. So we would sit all day long waiting for that sound. Luckily, I was a reader.
Because you guys had nothing else to do.
That's it. We were there all day long, and this is like flat desert, you know.
So was it hot?
I don't remember it being hot. It was dry, you know, so you don't get that kind of thing. But I was a pipe feeler. That was my second job. I was a pipe feeler. The horse heads produce the oil, and they go back into the tank, and we would run the steam through those pipes. And, you know, hot steam gets metal hot, and they're likely to bend. So I would sit out in the middle of the desert with my hand on the pipe and wait for it to get warm. And I'd go 5 feet further and sit down and put my hand on the pipe and wait for it to get warm. And I would spend hours, just me and the damn jackrabbits, out there on the desert.
How did you mentally deal with that, though?
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was just, there's nothing else in your head, you know? I mean, there's nothing else in your perception.
Right.
So, I don't know. I fell in love with that dry, brown. We didn't have much wind. Mesquite. There's a lot of mesquite, and mesquite's really beautiful. You know, if you look at it, it's like bonsai. So I got in my little mesquite forest and sat there and felt the pipe.
Wow. So would you read then? What would you do to pass the time?
Yeah, I always had a book. Kerouac, yeah, you know, Jack Kerouac wrote On the Road, Dharma Bums, about the Beat generation. And I was a semi-beat when I was in high school because I wore sunglasses to class.
Okay.
And, you know, us cool guys in the band, and nobody else in the high school thinks there's any cool guys in the band. But we were the cool guys in the band, and we were beat. Or at that time, we would wear like a sweatshirt, you know, and sunglasses, and click our fingers when we were walking around and being part of the scene. And the cool thing about Beat Generation was that it was a very intellectual generation. It's a lot of poetry, a lot of literature. My favorite part of jazz. No, my favorite part's big band, but that cool jazz that came out of the West Coast, Jerry Mulligan, and just a wondrous, cool jazz. That's where I started playing bongos in a coffee house. We had, you know, coffee houses and folk music, and instead of clapping, you clicked your fingers, which started in New York, because if you clapped, it would be bothering somebody upstairs. I don't know.
Okay,
blah, blah.
So they just did the clicking.
Yeah, and that, you know, Dylan and Dave Van Ronk and all of those people were just coming into the Greenwich Village scene back then.
Okay.
So I was part of that scene, and in college, Joan Baez, we discovered this new girl, Joan Baez. Man, it's so cool.
Were you big into philosophy or anything like that?
Yeah. That's I tried to tackle Zen when I was probably in the 9th grade, and I really tried, because that was another part of the Beat movement was being a Zen Buddhist. Alan Watts, my favorite spiritual teacher ever.
I love Alan Watts.
Yeah, man. He was part of that movement. He had a renovated ferry boat. He lived in California. The whole part of that whole movement. And so, a big part of the Beat generation was Zen. That showed up in Kerouac all the time. A lot of Buddhist stuff.
But you didn't grow up with that.
No, my parents were Methodist. But
and how long were you in that before you moved on to something else?
About the 10th grade.
Okay,
yeah.
So right around this time that you were learning about this other stuff.
Didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. No. That's a whole nother discussion.
Well, I mean, that's why we're here.
Well, yeah,
Like,
okay.
We don't have to kill this all in one show. Like,
Oh,
I'll have you back, but
Okay.
I wanna touch
Okay,
on
well-
this because this is an important part. I feel like of why you are who you are, because
It's a big part of who I am.
Your
It's my spiritual
philosophy on life is freaking amazing.
Well, thank you. My spirituality is mostly Eastern. I like Buddhism because Buddha said, if you see the Buddha in the road, kill him. Don't pay any attention to. Just listen to my words. And I try to listen to the words of Jesus and Krishna and Buddha and anybody I can pay attention to. But, those three guys have got some good messages. And so
do you believe there was a Jesus Christ then?
I don't care.
Okay.
That's detail,
Right.
That's not the teaching.
You're more in for the message, not the destination, right? The journey, not the destination.
The dogma. Okay, I got to remember this line. Religion is the politics of spirituality.
Oh, I like that.
It makes the rules. It tells you what's going to happen to you if you don't obey the rules. Now, those are the two biggest things in religion. And then there's these teachings.
Right.
But so I really don't care whether there was a Jesus or a Buddha or a Krishna.
God or anything like that.
The words are what we're supposed to listen to.
Right.
The Tao Te Ching, the first words are, the Tao that you can define is not the true Tao. There's no way we can define whatever it is. I'm basically a Taoist because Taoists believe that they've got to look at the complexities and the realities of the universe and try to follow what the universe tells them, what nature tells them. They don't have an animistic God.
Okay.
They don't worship a person. Okay, we've mathematics has figured out like 16 or 17 different dimensions. We know 3 of them. So do you think God's going to, whatever has at least that many dimensions, multi-dimensions, ultimate multi-dimensions, isn't going to settle in a body that has to clunk around on the bottom of this aquarium where birds can fly and frogs can jump and fish can swim, and we're going clunk, clunk. Man, we're on the bottom of this thing, man.
Right.
So that's another line. But anyway, where were we?
And that's but no, you're right on kilter there, because my question is, well, that's kind of where religion steps in. Is yes, you do get the teachings, but then there's the hell and the damnation that goes with it. And I think that's where people can even get scared, because it's like, man, I don't want to piss this guy off because I don't want to end up in hell.
If you ever want to get a following, give them something to be scared of.
Right. And the reason that we need to take their money.
Yeah. And boy, did they get good at that. The politics and it became a way to control people. And one of the things that Sean Cole and I are recording is a thing that I used to do at this ashram that I used to go to up in Canada, and it's a banjo background, and it talks about me growing up in the deep South. The panhandle of Florida is south of Alabama. Think about that.
That's a good point.
And my parents, they were educators. They moved themselves out of that, but they grew up in that world, picking cotton. Yeah, my mom picked cotton to get enough money for her graduation dress.
Okay.
That was that part of the country.
Okay.
So my parents would go off and work on their master's degrees during the summer and would dump me at grandmama's house for a couple of weeks until I could go to Bubba's house. Yeah, I'm that Southern. I got 2 Bubbas in my family, and I could go stay with Bubba on the farm, but I first had to spend this time with grandmama, who was a holy roller.
Okay.
Assembly of God. In this part of the country, you can imagine that she spent a great deal of her time praying all day long.
Sure.
And not happily, like tears, please, but anyway, she would take me to their church on Sunday, and the preacher would start slowly, and luckily if they had a musician, but he would start talking very slowly, and he would start talking a little faster, and he started talking a little faster, and he'd build him up, and he would stop, and the music would stop. And after a while, it would build up. It's like tantric sex, you got to hold on to it and hold on to it. It would build him up and stop, and it'd build him up and stop. It was. So after a while, I was looking over at these sweet little farm ladies, just darling people, big hearts. And they'd have tears in their eyes just saying, "Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus." And it was absolute love.
Right.
So years later, I go to this ashram, Shivananda Ashram, up in Valmarin, Quebec.
Uh-huh.
And I was on staff up there every summer for quite a while. And we had teacher training. There'd be like 100 people come in to learn how to be yoga teachers.
Okay.
And I had this talent night, and I did this story. But anyway, I jumped off a little bit. But anyway, this Saint Venugopala, came to the ashram from India. He was like an 8th generation chanter of the Bhagavatam, which is one of the Hindu classics, and he did it in Sanskrit, and he had like 8 generations. People brought him foot massage oil. He's that kind of dude, Run into town 2 hours to get St. Venugopala some foot massage oil. These little old, the karma yogas, they call them. That's karma yoga is a yoga of self-sacrifice. So they get these kids to be karma yogas so they could sacrifice and go, this guy gets some foot massage oil. I always said karma yoga was Sanskrit for slave labor. But I'm jumping off the point a lot, but somewhere there's a point. Okay, so Venugopala. So we're in the big yoga hall, and he's got 3 really fine Indian musicians, a bansuri player and a tabla player. He starts out slowly, and he builds up, and he builds up, and he builds up, and stops. And he starts out slowly, and he builds it just like tantric sex. He builds it up and stops. And this music is a lot more interesting and involved than that piano player in Graceville, Florida. Okay. So there's all this absolute tabla music, like great tabla music, and just the music's getting stronger and stronger and stronger. They'd stop and they'd build up and build up. And I looked over, and this is where this whole idea came from. I looked over at these little Indian ladies who had come in from Montreal, these little gopis who followed St. Venugopala, and they had tears in their eyes going, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. They were absolutely in love with Krishna.
And where do you think that feeling derives?
The heart. It's one of the eight ways, yoga ways to enlightenment, is to open your heart. And Rumi, Sufi poet, said, approach God as you would approach your first love. And if you remember your first love, if she was out of your sight, you wanted to be back with her so bad.
Right.
It was just everything in your mind. It was adoration. And I forget, gosh, I just blew it. I can't remember the name of the yoga at the moment. Bhakti yoga. It's bhakti yoga, the opening of the heart, the yoga of devotion.
Okay.
And when you fall in love with Jesus or Krishna, and you just want to be with them all the time, and if you're not with them, that's all you can think about. In the Bible, the angels just sit around for eternity adoring God.
Uh-huh.
And I was thinking, man, that's got to get boring after a while, doesn't it? Just sitting around adoring God. But they have their hearts that open. It's eternal bliss. Their hearts are totally open. That's eternal bliss. Satchitananda. Yeah, eternal bliss.
That sounds like the crap you were saying to my cats earlier today. No,
okay, I got that. But let's get back off that. That's enough down that rabbit hole.
Those cats love you, though.
Because I speak their language.
Yeah, and just so what the hell were you saying to them earlier?
Yeah, okay, the Gary Larson cartoon, The Far Side. There's a guy talking to his dog, and the bubble above the guy is saying, "Oh, Fido, you're just the greatest dog. Why don't you run and get this bone, Fido? Please, hey, Fido, I just love you, Fido. Let me scratch your ear, Fido." And there's a balloon over the dog that says, "Blah, blah, 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 Fido, blah, 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 Fido, blah, blah, Fido." So I thought, they really don't give a shit what we're saying. So I'm
you thought I'm just gonna start speaking in tongues?
Yeah, I'm thinking, what kind of sound would a cat like to hear? So I go, and if you combine that with where you're scratching them on their ear, man, there's orgasms if they weren't spayed. Now, that's the way.
Oh my goodness. Chihuahua.
They like kach. But if they don't do something you want, you go that's enough of that. You don't have to say, "Get the hell out of my plant." You just say
Is this just with cats, or are you speaking a whole bunch of animal languages?
Well, I say the same thing to dogs. No, dogs, it's usually lower, like a baritone. Oh, komochi ni wawa, kokochi. Oh, oichima, oichima, oichima. Now, if you were a dog, wouldn't you like to hear that more than, "You're such a pretty fellow. You're a good dog"?
No, I mean, it sounds to me like you're speaking Klingon, but I'm whatever. if that's your, I mean, yeah. They seem to like it, so they obviously thought something was going on.
My cats love me. Yeah,
they were just all over you like white on rice.
So where'd we leave off? Okay, I was
well. So I want to ask you then. So because a lot of religious people that can't get over the God part of it, say that if there's no God, then what's the meaning? We're not special.
Doesn't mean there's no God. It means that our definition of God's just fucked up.
Right. So in your current belief system, then, what is your interpretation of God? What does that look like?
Multi-dimensional thing that I can't possibly understand.
We like how everyone says we're brothers and sisters? Is it that? Do you think it's that kind of a thing, or?
I like to think so, and quantum physics kind of proves that we're all in a matrix. I hate to.
No,
Yeah.
it's hard to disprove that we're in a artificial
Well, there's that side of it. Yeah. We are.
simulation.
Yeah. Well, we're holographs, or we're in a holographic universe. There's a pretty good chance that that's true, and that means that everything is lined up. Like our connective tissue in our body, the molecules are lined up crystalline. So, crystals can transfer power.
Right.
They used them in crystal radios. And that's the same principle of lasers. Those molecules are lined up crystalline so that everything that happens, if I get a mosquito bite on my leg, there's no time involved. The minute that mosquito bite hurts, my body's working to fix it because it knew it instantly. It's not, there's no time involved. It's just, it all happens at one time and it's all connected because the molecules are lined up in a laser. There's no dispersion. Everything just goes right where it doesn't go. It's just there all the time. There's nothing to keep it. It's all one big chunk.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. So maybe we're that, I do know we're all we're vibrations.
Yeah. Frequency.
Yeah.
I feel, because I love people.
Yeah.
I love being around people, and I
You love
totally
talking to them on the
did
phone.
the thing that you're not supposed to do and leave your phone on. So, and I'm the one that got on you for that too. I was like, damn it, Charlie, your phone better not go off. Things are going to get bad around here. And then I'm the one that goes and breaks the rules. And okay, that baby's on silent now.
Okay.
So, no, it's just, I think with a lot of the way that the world is now,
Yeah.
there is a lot to be, we all have things that we go through in life, and I got into astrophysics about six years ago.
Yeah.
And just fell in love with the science, just like more than I've ever cared about in my entire life. I just all of a sudden just was like a sponge.
It's amazing.
It's the most magic. It's funny because I come from a religious background.
Yeah.
And same thing. You do certain things, or you quote unquote feel the spirit.
Yeah.
And science. It was that same energy, that same high. But I feel when I'm around good people, and I make people laugh and they make me laugh, I absorb that energy, and it fills my cup up.
Yeah.
And if I'm not around people for
and you make a lot of people laugh.
Well,
you are hilarious, man.
And that's why I keep my shirt on right there. That's why I do that. No, but like you're one of those. Look, I got to travel at a young age. I got to start traveling when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I think that the greatest thing about traveling, when people ask me, well, what did you love about traveling? It was just meeting different people.
Yeah.
Getting outside of that bubble, because you think that's what your world is, and it really is. Anything that you are around is what you are, and if you want more, you have to expand.
Make your bubble
it's not,
a lot bigger.
It's not going to come.
Yeah.
It's not going to come to you, and it's given me the opportunity to meet people like yourself, because I feel like there's so much to learn from others.
Yeah.
It's not all going to be good, obviously, but like you said, you cut out the stuff that you don't care about and focus on the messages.
Yeah.
What can you learn? What can you use to apply that to better your life?
Yeah.
And there are so many great people around that have stories that, I feel like and that's what we used to be as a people, or storytellers.
Yeah, we've lost it. Oh,
we have.
We have.
We have. We really have. And I mean, I know this is a heavy-hitted question, but where do you see humanity going?
We're going to be cyborgs. If we're wise, we're going to become cyborgs. We're going to integrate machinery and ourselves, because we are training machines to be smarter and stronger than us, and that's where you know where that's got to go. The military is going to make machines, and machines are sooner or later going to be self-aware. I don't know if self-aware is the good word, but they already know how to reproduce and fix themselves. And if we don't keep up, then we're going to be the minority race. If we incorporate into the machines, the ghost in the machine, as it were, and almost all the religions that I've looked at and discovered and studied over the years say that, there's something inside us beyond our body.
Right.
Soul,
spirit,
the Atma,
Gila Biga.
And that soul so far depends on this wet computer that's our body. If you're going to design a computer, man, make it wet, because everything moves out,
right.
That kind of stuff.
Right.
That's off in a different direction, but.
Well, so do you believe that that we pre-existed before coming to the earth?
I have no idea.
All right. Well, let me ask you this: what happens when we die?
I have no idea.
Right on, dude. We're covering some major ground here, and I really appreciate your help. I feel uplifted and more knowledgeable than ever about my situation.
Yeah, I try to pass on my lack of ideas to others.
No, but you've obviously found something, because not very many, and I don't know how to say this without sounding like it's like a double-handed compliment, but look, you're up there in age. There are a lot of people that are your age that have the energy and the just the way that you carry yourself, man. Like, seriously, if you colored your hair, I think you're like you're 25. You got more energy than I do. Like, and it's a good positive. Like, do you ever get mad? Does that ever happen?
I internalize my madness, anger. Yeah. But I don't, it doesn't last long with me. I resort to my breath. I return to my breath. I know what Khan says. You just take deep breaths. Yeah. And that's something I hadn't discussed. Probably most of my energy, or whatever it is, comes out of 25, 30 years of practicing and dancing and learning Tai Chi and Qigong, which is my passion. I've gotten more out of that.
Tell the audience what that is.
Originally started as a martial art that there are like several things if you're going to be in martial arts that you want to pay attention to. One is you don't want to get knocked over, right?
So you were a cage fighter too.
Oh, fuck.
You're WWF now. This is amazing. God, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. You're a ninja.
Last fight I was in the 4th grade. And I said, this sucks. I'm not going to do this anymore.
No, I'm just playing with you. So
so you learn rooting.
Okay.
And you learn conscious gosh. If you're in the middle of a fight and you lose attention, you're going to get knocked around. If you sit down and meditate and you lose attention, okay, I got to get back to it. It's enforced meditation, martial arts, downhill skiing, That's when the first time I went downhill skiing, I said, that's why people like this. It's enforced meditation. If I don't pay attention, I'm dead.
You're gonna end up with a snowball
Yeah.
the size of a building.
So that's the kind of thing they wanted to bring into the martial arts is
Okay.
I have to be able to pay total attention to my opponent, and I've got to know exactly what he's doing at all the time, and I have to be in a position that if he comes toward me, and I have to be totally balanced at all times, and I have to have my breathing controlled. So the big things in Tai Chi are getting rooted and learning to move your root when you need to move your body. When you step, you want to move your root to the next step instead of stepping on your toes and almost falling over, that kind of thing. And the second is the consciousness of it. And that's what I've learned most in Tai Chi. But what the most is breathing. Circular breathing, sometimes called the Buddha breath, the abdominal breath. In the West, we breathe from our chest.
Uh-huh.
And we breathe up and down and up and down and up and down. Abdominal breathing is that you imagine that you're breathing from your stomach. And you inflate your entire stomach and your entire back.
So how you're supposed to breathe when you're singing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. You fill your entire balloon all the way up.
Okay.
And secondly, you don't get to the top and stop and come back down. You breathe in a circle. Have you ever seen highlight? The sport highlight? The Brazilian sport used to be big betting thing in Florida. They have this, they call it a cesta. It's a glove that you put on your hand, and it's shaped like a big scoop, like a banana.
Okay.
And it's like a basket shape. And this little ball comes at you at like 100 miles an hour, and you scoop that ball up and turn it around your body and turn your whole body around and throw it out in the opposite direction at 200 miles an hour.
Holy crap.
Because you're not, if a ball's coming at you, let's say you're in baseball, if a ball's coming at you, it has to stop
Right.
and start all over again. It's going from zero out again.
Right.
But if you carry a breath or a ball around a circle and shoot it out the other side, it's maintained all of its energy.
Like you would do sending something in orbit.
Yeah.
Using the gravity to
yeah.
slingshot, right?
Yeah, it's a slingshot. So if you approach your breath that way,
So you're never really stopping.
that's right.
You just
It's a
slow
circle.
down and then automatically come back.
It's a circle. There's no place where you are totally out of breath or totally in breath. If you picture your breath, you draw a circle and put your people out there, put your fingers up in the air, and draw what you think is a perfect circle. And as you draw it slowly, let your breath follow it, so that when you come around to like maybe you're 90 degrees, you're starting to really exhale. And if you come around to the bottom, there's no point where you actually stop, but somewhere over around 6 o'clock, just after 6 o'clock, suddenly there's air coming back in. So very slowly until you come around back to 12 o'clock.
And how long do you continue that cycle?
Well, I'll sit for a long time and do that. That's my meditation.
So you'll do that the entire way through.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and circular breath. So when you're doing Tai Chi, and you're preparing in Tai Chi, you're either preparing or you're acting. So when you're preparing, you're breathing in. So as you prepare for the next move and you start making your next move, you combine that with the starting to breathe out.
Okay.
So the movement becomes the breath. So if you're circling your hands around really fast, and you follow the.
I knocked the mic over. No big deal.
And knock the mic over.
$10,000 is not a big
deal. It's Tai Chi, man. What can I say? That's enough of that. That's enough of that.
No, but you do need to scoot it closer to you a little bit. Like that.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
No. And Tai Chi.
Mm-hmm.
Tai Chi, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what? And I want to say that I'm an avid. I like to meditate a lot. It's really affected me in my life. But my ADD, my brain's going a million miles an hour.
I'm on that wagon with you, buddy.
Yeah, and it's really taken. I had to do the voice guided meditation.
Yeah.
To really pay attention to what I was doing. But I've noticed all of these things seem to focus around concentration. Mm-hmm. That's the cornerstone of the enlightenment all the way around is concentration.
Being in the exact moment that you're in.
Being present.
Mm-hmm. A student asked a Zen master one time, what is Zen? And his answer was, chop wood, carry water. If you're chopping wood, you're chopping wood. You're not thinking about the problem you just had with the old lady or the kids out tonight and I got wish about. You're just chopping wood, and you're what is it? Goethe said, the task of the moment.
And how many people do that and they don't realize that a lot of them that is a form of meditation?
It is.
Because anything that you're absolutely 100% hyper focused on,
that's meditation.
That's meditation.
And that's for Tai Chi. That's what you're focused totally on the movements that you're making and the positions that you're in. And you're not worried about the asshole that cut you off when you came in the parking lot, No,
the way it was explained to me, and I really liked it, was imagine you're walking down the street on a fall day. It's beautiful, and the sun's starting to go down, and it's nice and warm. And then all of a sudden, a group of Harley riders come by with their loud pipes and everything, and some people, it makes you want to hide or you want to run away from it. But meditation teaches you how to take it and accept it, but let it pass through and let it not affect you.
It is what it is.
And it's very, very cool. And I remember thinking, like, oh my gosh, this is such hippie crap, But
a lot of people don't listen to it.
But the first time I really dove in, and it took me a minute, but you know what I'm talking about, and I can't remember what the term is. I know that there's a term for it, but there's a place that you can get where you're almost lucid dreaming, where you step outside of your thoughts and you can be an observer.
Yeah.
And I finally hit that after a couple of years, but it was like, for me, it was like the promised land.
Yeah.
Because I was like, this is so freaking cool.
Yeah.
And then to realize how much about my own brain that I don't even know.
Yeah.
And that started to become awesome to learn about that. And I don't know, being a dad and watching them experience things for the first time. I mean,
isn't that special?
I wish so bad I could get so excited to play the gum wrapper. You know what I mean? Like, I'm so jealous. Man, what I wouldn't give to just be that easily pleased. It doesn't happen like that anymore.
And that's what you want to get back to is the mind of a child. The enjoyment of a child is that everything that you look at is just incredible.
And that's exactly how I would explain your energy. Not a child as far as you make adolescent choices, but you have that zest for life as a child looks And I that's where I don't know what you're drinking, but I want it. You know what I mean? Like that was the biggest takeaway after meeting you for the first time, was like, I don't know what the hell that guy's doing. I don't care what drug it is. I don't care what it is. I'm gonna find out what's going on.
I lick toads.
Yeah, well, I want to start licking some toads, brother. Take me to the pond and show me where the toads are, because I want to lick the shit out of them.
Yeah. So the first digression, I do have some sense in my head. The first digression was I went on the road with Art, and we hitchhiked across
you
country.
felt that journey started.
Yeah, and I've been pretty much an adventurous most of my life, but I became an architect. Went to school I went to Florida State, got a degree in sculpture, and then went to Florida and got a degree in architecture, and spent almost 20 years with an architectural firm. Built it up pretty good size, and loved designing buildings. It was my passion. It was my religion. If you go online to partinstudios.com, Partin studios.com, you can see some of the work that I did, but I did churches, very lyrical forms. I was really proud of my work. I loved it. Loved designing buildings, but I did not like being the boss.
Okay, but so I have to ask you, though, because I come from Salt Lake City, Utah,
Yeah.
originally. And I'm sure you've heard of the Mormons.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen any of their temples?
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen the Salt Lake Temple?
From the outside, yeah.
What was your being an architect? What did you think of that?
Well, I was from that era before architecture went back to being squares and rectangles, of swooping architecture. And most of my churches were swooping structures, horizontal, vertical, kind of tried to work that kind of stuff in. And that's what, to me, the tabernacle does. It sends you up. It's probably the eternal symbol for, lost my word, but the obelisk. We go back as far as the obelisk. It's a symbol of connection to the heavens. So, yeah, that's...
Well, and I'm probably going to get chastised for saying this, but I thought that the older temples were the ones that were the sexiest, as far as how they were constructed. Like the newer ones, just it looks so office building to me.
Well, you were talking about Salt Lake City one though,
right? Right.
Yeah.
I think that one's over 100 years old.
Yeah.
Now, but it was one of the originals.
Most of the new Mormon churches that I see today look like they were designed by a guy that does residential work.
Yeah.
It doesn't have spirit.
But if you've ever wanted to see inside that building, there actually is that possibility, and you don't have to become a Mormon to do it.
Oh, yeah.
So anytime that they renovate a temple, which they're doing right now, the Salt Lake Temple, the last time I saw it, had scaffolding all the way around it. They're doing upgrades for earthquake preparation and whatever that they're doing. They're probably burying the rest of the tithing they've been getting. I don't know, but they're redoing it, and because they're redoing it, they have to rededicate it.
All right.
So before they dedicate it, they let the general public walk through it before they dedicate it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have a temple recommend to walk through that.
That'd be fun. I'm not going to go to Salt Lake City to see it.
Come on, Bongo, Charlie.
If I'm passing through,
we'll get in the bus. We'll make it a trip.
Road trip. We're going to see the tabernacle. Are we there yet?
Hey, it's the only one I've always kind of been like this. I know a lot of people are fixated on their own religious buildings and stuff, but I always found it interesting to walk through the big cathedrals, the Catholic cathedrals and everything. The architecture, the stained glass, the way that that's all put together was so gorgeous.
I loved doing that kind of thing. I was on the board of directors of an organization called the Interfaith Forum on Religion, Arts, and Architecture.
Oh, that's a small name. I like it. What's the acronym for that?
IFRA.
There it is.
Yeah. It was church architects and church artists and church musicians and pastors, theologians formed this one group that was pretty much devoted to architecture, church architecture. And it was a great group. They were very high-minded people. They're coming out of seminaries, and they're architects, and they're artists, and they're musicians, and it was a wonderful thing. And being on the board, I went to every one of their conferences. And one of the great things about the conferences was that we went to all the cool local churches. So, we'd go on, if we went to Chicago, there were like 5, 6, 7 churches, and we'd just all get on a bus and just go from church to church to church. And we went over, actually did a thing over in Europe, and we saw probably 30 really magnificent churches.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a good experience in my life.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Any of those give you inspiration as to how you design some of yours?
Yeah. Saarinen, Eliel Saarinen, did these laminated beams. Laminated beams are like 2x-whatevers that you stick together in plastic, glue them together and bend them. And he was one of the first that kind of did that, but that's most of my churches were like that. Big swooping, bended, laminated beams. Yeah, one time there was a St. Michael's church down in Florida that was the largest span of a laminated beam structure in the world.
Wow.
Yeah. But that was a different life.
Yeah, but so just real quickly, how did you all of a sudden get turned on to architecture? Because you went from being a hellion and a partier.
I stayed a hellion and a partier. I'm still a hellion and a partier. What do you mean? Went from?
But you're a controlled explosion, though.
How long have you known me?
You're the partier and the crazy, but you still have it. You still have it nailed down. What I mean by that is, it's not like we have to go find you in a dinghy on the lake. You know what I mean? Like, there are people that I'm around that drink, and I'm like, a couple more, and they're going to be howling at the moon.
Yeah. No, I've never been that, but so where were we?
I asked you how you went the conversion to wanting to be an architect and making that decision to go to school and all of that.
Well, initially in high school, I just thought it would be cool. I didn't know anything about architecture. I said, well, architecture would be cool. I really liked art, and I figured you're never going to make a living doing art, which I have proven over the years.
And your best friend was named Art.
Yes.
So maybe subconsciously you were like,
that son of a bitch. He did it. Yeah. But I figure, it's a way to live an artistic life and make a decent living. And it was. I really enjoyed architecture. I didn't go into it because I knew a whole lot about it. Most of the guys that decided to go into architecture had been studying Le Corbusier and studying buildings, and I didn't know shit about buildings. I thought it'd be a cool thing to do. Turned out it was.
And that just became your passion.
It was. I just lived and breathed it. If I was sitting at a restaurant, I'd be drawing something on a napkin.
And you still paint.
I still,
right?
I do watercolors and I do sculptures, a lot of carvings, ink and pen and ink drawings, Whatever. Well, ADD, man. I see a hubcap, and all of a sudden I'm over turning it into a damn something or other, And
it's not. You're not wrong.
yeah. Well, maybe that's one of the things that's kept me as young as I am, is that I've got like probably 12 art projects going right now at some stage, and some of them have been in that stage for several years. Because I just jump from one to another. But I enjoy watercolors. I enjoy sculpture. Yeah.
But that's how I feel like that's the real way to do it, as far as being, and not just in art, because I'm not an artist, but I like to write music. And there'll be songs that I've started to write, and sometimes it takes them years to get finished.
Yeah.
But you don't have to rush that stuff.
No,
that's the nice thing about being creative, is
if you don't have a deadline,
just like we are, we're not made how we are just overnight.
Yeah,
it takes time to make us transform into what we become. And I feel like when you're being really creative and you've got something really good, why wouldn't it take more time?
Yeah. I picked up projects 10 years old and finished them in the last little bit. I'm just getting cranked.
Well, listen, I really appreciate your time.
Are you on this?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, it's my pleasure, man. This has been fun.
Yeah, you've been awesome, and we got to have you on again, because
anytime. Anytime I can get down here.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you. You're one of the coolest people that I've met, and so there's so much more we need to talk about. But thanks for coming down and at least kicking it off.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I think all this stuff all the time. I got nobody to tell it to, so now I do.
You do. That's right.
Thank you for that opportunity.
No, it was great. Bongo Charlie, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you listening however you are. Make sure you check out more of the Just Josh and You podcast, and we will catch you on the flip side.